Hello, my wonderful friends. So today I'm going to talk to you about why memory techniques seem to just fail for so many people. And I'm just going to talk from my own experience, all these insights I gained from trying to learn and use different techniques and having variable amount of success. Hopefully you'll gain something out of my experience. So I've boiled these problems down to three factors. So the first one is that it's not practiced properly. Number two is not giving enough time. And number three is skipping the recall phase. So let's dive into each one of these factors in more detail and find out what we can do to make them better. So the first issue is that there is not enough practice. The scenario goes like this. So you look up a memory technique on YouTube, you find one, you try it out, and it seems to work. Great. Now you know the memory technique. A couple of weeks later, you get a chance to use it. In a test, for example. You try it, it just doesn't seem to be as effective. Why is that? Well, that's because we haven't really acquired the skill yet. So memory technique, just like anything else, is a skill and a technique that needs to be properly acquired. Now let's think back to the time that you learned to ride a bicycle, or if you drive, just think about the time that you learned to drive. The first couple of months that you're driving, you're really excited, you know what to do in your brain. You know where your hands need to go, you know where your eyes need to be, and where your feet need to be. In coordinating all of these different little movements, little components if you will, it requires time and lots of practice for it to become a little bit more integrated into your whole being. After a little while, you're still thinking about where the different components of your body needs to be doing and where they need to go. But you know you're good at it and you can feel that you're getting better at it. And then come next few months are no longer cognizant of where your hands are, where your feet are, where your eyes are looking at. You're driving without thinking. So let's illustrate all of that on a graph. So here is a graph that we're looking at. If you see here, there's a phase called unconscious incompetence. So that's when you don't know that you don't know. So this is you before picking up the memory technique. And then we see a dip. That's the conscious incompetence. So you know you're pretty crap at it. And you're trying to work towards building that. That's the first phase that you go through when you're trying to drive a car, for example. So we go to the next phase, your skill improves and you're picking up the technique. And that's the phase that's called conscious competence. And then you go further and you're unconscious about your competence. You're doing it without really thinking about it. That's the gold zone that you're trying to get to. Now, that takes a lot of time, that takes practice. Unfortunately, this needs to be an active thing. Just like driving a car, memory techniques don't come easy. Okay, so what can we do about acquiring this skill properly? Unfortunately, there's only one way, and that one way is just constant practice. We just got to keep going and going. Now, one suggestion that I do have is do it first thing in the morning. I don't know how you operate, but me personally, I'm very much a morning person. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, squeezing in about 15 minutes to half an hour practice into each day. Grocery items, studying for an exam, just some kind of practice on a daily basis. It's just like working out. You don't just do push-ups one day and have muscles. You have to just keep going despite seemingly having no return. You just got to keep pushing, and soon enough you will reap the benefits of your persistent practice. Now the next thing is not giving enough time for the technique to actually work. Now what we must realize is that these memory techniques don't give you photographic memory. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. I would love for that to be true, but it just isn't, which means that we need to think about it from a slightly different perspective. So rather than thinking of it as a method of obtaining photographic memory, it's more that it makes your study more effective, more efficacious. In other words, you put in the same amount of time, and you do require the same amount of time. You can store the information in a way that is a lot more easily retrievable and a lot more easily convertible into long-term memory. So applying that logic, start early, just as you would with normal exams, for example. If you need a couple of months, then take a couple of months. But just use this technique, persist with it, and then you'll have a lot easier time incorporating what you learned into your long-term memory bank so that you can store this information away as permanent knowledge rather than some fact that you're going to regurgitate for the exam. Now finally, we don't take the time to perform active recall. The whole purpose of the memory techniques is to form long-term memory to build knowledge. Sure, it can be an effective form of boosting your short-term memory, but really the real power is in forming long-term memory. Now this requires a little bit of paradigm shift. Now let's think about these memory techniques as a way of storing your information for your review. Now let's imagine that you have a notepad into which you've taken all your notes, pieces of fact that you want to memorize for the exam. Now, instead of this being on paper, you've got it stored in your brain in a format that can be easily recalled. Okay, all you got to do is just make the effort to do that. So that means that you're free from having this piece of notebook or many notebooks in order for you to revise. For your revision, you could be traveling, you could be commuting, wherever. You're unrestricted in your recall. You do need active recall to form long-term memory. Having a memory technique that keeps your knowledge portable and mobile is a great thing in terms of forming memory and making your study that much more efficient. I hope this was useful. I wish you all the best in acquiring your memory technique. I wish you all the best with all your study pursuits. Now, if there have any thoughts, questions, comments, put them all in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.